such an asshole.
Actually, so I'm going to warn right off the bat to anyone watching this with a genuine intellectual interest, like differences between communism, socialism, capitalism. And those of you Spurgs with your made up mental disorders, not that Asperger's, I'm talking you social ones, you ones who got like nothing going on in your life except your liberal arts degree where you jerk off to all the isms and the yes. Actually, technically. So for the intellectually curious, I'm going to give you a nice little simple lesson in economics. Look at the measuring stick. It's going to help you. And for all you actually type of people, shut the F up. No one cares. I've talked about this before, but it's good to review this. So let's go through the question. Joshua writes, hey, Cappy, you have mentioned several times you consider a country to be socialist, communist, free, etc. by looking at government spending as the percentage of GDP. I would like to see how, oh man, I'm losing my voice. Hang on. Excuse me. I'd like to see this broken down with an analysis of your favorite example country of each type. Well, you know what? I should have put it in here. What you can do, because this is the data I'm pulling, just search government spending as a percent of GDP. OECD, that stands for the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. I'd say it's a database group in Europe. They track just a tremendous amount of economic data, but they're now more of a leftist think tank. Hey, we figured it out this time, guys. Print off more money. Why is there inflation? I don't know. It's the Republicans in the Senate again. So you could go there and they show you the statistics for all the participating countries, which there's an increasing amount of. So the data is there. You can just search it and follow along if you'd like. If you could add a historical analysis of the USA and Europe, if time interest permits, showing how things have changed both financially and in quality of life for the individuals, that'd be great. I'm one of those weirdos that still likes to read, so a video and a blog would be welcome. I said, well, for me to do the research longitudinally, that's what you're talking about, where you go back in time and you want me to write a blog post. I'm like, yeah, it's $1,000. There's just no time. I was pulled into this weird world of internet YouTube person. I remember the blogging days. Remember the blogging days when I worked at banks, and they were headed up by a bunch of inept, corrupt, thieving, gray-haired boomer scumbags, and they never gave me enough work to do, so I'd end up doing I mean, if you want, go back in my blog, Captain Capitalism, the blogspot there. A ton of it. You have economic research done back in the day, but I'm not paid enough to do economics anymore. I'm not. Anyway, so I don't have time to write. I really don't. So I said, in honesty, I don't have the time to write a blog post, let alone populate with charts and data. Best I can do is use modern day examples from memory, which I still have in my head, and pull up the most recent data from the OECD in a video. And he agreed. Definitely hit on where you think the line is drawn between free, socialist, communist. Let's just do the spectrum of communism, socialism, capitalism. You can call it free if you'd like, but we'll just do capitalism because it causes the actually people to smirk out. They're like, what do you mean I have to work for a living? Actually, that's not what Marx said. All right, so let me go through the general explanation here. You can, if you want, read a ton of poorly written books on political philosophy and politics and economics. You could read Das Kapital by Karl Marx. You could read The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, and you'll be bored and you won't learn a darn thing. But the simplest way to measure how I prefer to use the words communistic, I guess you could say not free, versus capitalistic, meaning free or free markets, is what percent of the GDP, the economy, is government spending. Now, the reason I use government spending, actually, it's revenue as a percent. I'm like, yeah, but you're spending Like, let's say you spend more than you take in, right? Well, how do you pay back that deficit? Because you got to borrow money, right? Well, how do you pay it back? Well, you got to tax people in the future. Now, you could argue at that moment in time the tax rates are lower and you have postponed the taxation into the future. I don't care. What percent of the economy does the government take and spend? What percent of the economy is the government? That's it. That's the simplest thing. And more modernly, we should add the not only the percent of GDP they take, I'm sorry, the percent of GDP they spend, which includes taxation and borrowing, but you should also take the percentage of GDP that you printed off in money, inflation. But I don't care to bore people with the technicalities and the details. Larger point is what percentage of economic activity is government spending? That's it. Because inevitably, today or tomorrow, it's got to be paid with taxation. That means what percent of people's economic production, GDP, does the government take? And to me, that has been, and to this day, is still the simplest measure of how economically free or economically not free a nation is. And so, you wanted parameters. I'll get to the countries later, but you guys can always look this up if you'd like. Interesting data. There is no, when does it go from a capitalist country to a socialist country? Is it 20% GDP? Is it 33% GDP? And when does it go from a socialist to a communist country? Do you have to be a full totalitarian? There is no private sector, which is not possible, by the way, because little inside baseball, the free market is human nature. And that's how you have the drug trade and blue jeans being traded in the Soviet Union, even though it was outlawed. Just a little inside baseball there for you kids. There is a correct answer. Is it 70%? Is it Sweden? Is it Finland? Is it one more percentage, or do you gotta be full blown North Korea or Venezuela where the government owns everything? And so I mean, if you need, I'd say, yeah, let's do it in thirds. Okay, 33% and below. If the government takes a third or less of your GDP, you're a capitalist country. From 34 to 66%, you're a socialist country. From 67 to 100%, you're communist. I'm not saying it's like, but according to Marx, who never worked a day in his life, was just a parasite and just a degenerate piece of. Go look him up. You don't have to believe me. Go look at his life. I don't care what the academics say. I don't care what people who wrote books say. I don't care. All I care is what percentage of your money do you get to keep? There it is. There's the definition. Is that simple enough? And I think that's a good enough, very simple metric. But you could, there's still some elements of the private sector in Sweden. Okay. China, there's a good one. China, what is that? Well, it's got all this free market economic liberated economic stuff, but it's under the CCP. But it's a lot of state-owned enterprises, but people are kind of free to do what they want, kind of, depending on the mood of the CCP. Was that free? Well, how do you know? Was it state-owned enterprise? So that's all government? That would technically be a fascist economic model, but I don't care to bore people with the actual traditional historical uses and meanings of words when we could just use them as pejoratives to insult people we disagree with. So that's kind of, there you go. That's the metric. Simple, easy to understand. You know what? You understand that? You understand that? You're more knowledgeable about economics than pretty much anyone at the party. Although I won't talk about it because talk about economics doesn't get you laid. Let's talk. Oh yeah, totally with the socialisms. Oh yeah, suck my peen now. I'm totally for the free stuff that other people pay for. Yeah, touch peen now. That's Democrat Chad. That's his game. Oh, I'm totally for the environments and the dolphins. Peen touch now. Oh. So let's go through the OECD here. Now keep in mind, not every country in the world is on this list. It is it's economies and countries that volunteer and provide their information. The lowest tax rates is Ireland, and this is largely the developed and second world. is Ireland. Ireland comes in 27% GDP. That's one of the lowest. Now, I'm wondering where. Oh, I'm surprised it's not in here. Let me take a look at Singapore. Singapore is. Oh, that's right, though. They do force. That depends on how they account for that. This may not be correct. Well, I mean, it would be correct. But, spending to GDP. Let me see if Singapore. 11.5%. Okay, so Singapore, 11.5%. Okay, but down here, there's a different measure. A shock. Economists may not be very consistent. Oh, yeah, it jumped up during the COVID thing, up to 24%. So they're, oh, jeez, I gotta click on it. 15%. They're at 15% now. So Singapore, usually, I don't know why they're not on the OECD, but they're not. So Singapore, for example, probably the freest economy in the world. If you want an example of a capitalist economy, there you go. So 15%. So you get to keep 85 cents on every dollar or whatever the Singaporean currency is. Ireland is 27. We take a significant jump up to, I had it, Costa Rica, 34, Colombia, 37, Korea, 38, Switzerland, 38, Latvia, 42. I'm skipping over here. The Baltics are in the 40s, the United States at 45, Israel 45, Australia 46, Luxembourg 47. So, United States, land of the free, home of the brave, capitalism, 45%. Now that would probably actually be caught in spending, including the inflation. Normally, I'll be perfectly honest, that's probably inflated due to inflation, money printing. Usually it's around the 35 to 39 mark. Like it was a high under Obama at 39, and I think Bush spent a lot more too. Was it Clinton? Clinton was low. It was low under Clinton, despite him being a Democrat. Let me go up here. Japan 47, and then let's just go into the 50. Half your money goes to the government here, guys. Germany, Iceland, Hungary, Slovenia, Sweden's at 52, United Kingdom 52. I thought Sweden was higher. Italy 57, Finland 57, Norway 58, Belgium 58, Greece 59, and France 61. So almost 2/3 of your money in France, which, well, gee, I don't know why people don't work. Oh. It really is a Scooby-Doo mystery. So that gives you an idea. Now, obviously not every country in the world is represented there. So let's go on. Where do you think the line is drawn? Increase the analysis. What was the other question you had? Example of each type. Let me get an example, then we'll go down through the historical track record. An example of each type. So Singapore would be the obvious free market example. That'd be because it has the lowest government spending to GDP. I'm sure there are some small tax haven like the Cayman Islands or Bermuda or Vanuatu Island. There's some obscure exceptions. You could perhaps look at those, but for now, let's just use Singapore as the example. So there you go. A perfect example of a socialist, not in the overall encapsulating terms of the sense, but like European socialism. United States, 45%. That's almost 50%. Okay, you can go to Sweden with 53%. Whatever. Oh, nothing's anybody's fault. Here's your money, and we'll keep you workers crippling along where you could keep 45% of your income. Won't that be nice? You need a master's degree, don't you? Wouldn't it be great to have an office? Ooh, a director position. You should work and pay half. I mean, literally half your money's paid out. And then full-blown communism, we might have to historically go back, but more modernly, Venezuela, North Korea. I don't think there are that many truly, genuinely Marxist economies left. Like I would not include Vietnam and China in that because they're a offshoot fascist economy where the government controls a lot of things, and depending on how much sand is in their hoo-ha, depends on how little or much or less they let you do your thing. So there's kind of your examples. Now, historically speaking, if you go back, and this I do know from memory, and it depends on the quality of the economic data that was captured, because they didn't have things like GDP in the 1860s. They had to go back and retroactively figure that out. But basically, 1946 and later, the U.S. got really serious about collecting economic data. So that's why if you go to, say, the Fed database, the St. Louis Federal Reserve, all the data series, like you got a tonnage of awesome economic data that you can look at going back to 1946. Anyway, but there were annual accounts kept in the teens and 20s, I think. And then you can always go back and retroactively estimate these things. But probably the best chart, going back to the like 1900, it may have even been 1890. I'd have to go and double check, but I do know it was 1900. When you took government spending, state, federal, and local, it was 3% GDP. We were a no joke, legitimately free country. And then you would see the chart jump up it would creep up a little bit. But then 1914, or actually, I guess it was 1917, because the U.S. ramped up for World War I. You see a jump. And then it came back down, but not as down as far as it was, because then we had the income tax. And then World War II, it jumps up. Although in 1930s, it does creep up because of FDR pointlessly trying to fight the Great Recession and extending it longer. True, facts. That's not what I heard my professor. Well, your professor's wrong. That's why he or she is a professor. So then there's a huge jump. I believe it was 120% GDP because we borrowed so much money. And then that came back down. But then the tax rate stayed a little bit higher. I think that was due to the payroll tax. And then you see a good general non-war, even though the Vietnam War was going on in Korea, starting in the 60s with the Great Society. That went up because we have to pay people to bail them out of their mistakes, namely having kids they can't afford. That's your welfare state. Then Reagan goes up a little bit because the defense spending goes down under Clinton because the economy was really booming. And Bush went up because Bush was a big spender. Obama went up kind of most as peacetime as it was. And then you look when the disease hit, we spent more as a percentage of GDP fighting a cold, a very bad and deadly cold in some instances, than we did World War II. Look it up. Go look it up. I'll show you how weak a people we've become. Oh, there's a really bad flu going on. And compare it to the Spanish flu. 1918, I believe. I can't wait to see what we're going to piss away our money on next time. Like, what's going to break that? Providing a little bit of history. There was a big increase in spending under Obama, also to fight the Great Recession that was caused by Republicans, white male Republicans in the Senate, and no one else. But then that kind of came back down. Trump was in office. The economy was growing okay. It wasn't booming like it was under Reagan, and that started tapering down a little. And then, oh my God, the boomer coof. Quick, print off all the money in the world to make no one pay rent and give them stimmy checks. And then their debt went, and I'm like, and that's where I was kind of like, all right, I'm glad I got my crypto. I'm glad I got my silver, and it's time to buy property overseas because you people have lost your freaking minds. And now I'd have to take a look at more updated, but we're up to 45%. So maybe now, in fairness, that data could be a year or two old when it goes back to when we were still having stimmy checks, maybe under Biden, it's different. But I don't care. And then as it generally correlates, I've done this. I've actually gone back and took the economic data from the OECD going back, what was it, 20, 30, and 50 years, and ran a correlation between government spending to GDP and economic growth, and it's negative. Now, it's been 10 years since I ran that correlation, so the new data might change that. But I think it was like a minus 0.3 correlation coefficient, so there's some validity there. And if you'll want to look at the United States from a longitudinal standpoint, as the government has accounted for more and more of the economy, GDP growth has gone down. And that one is very clear if you take a rolling average 20-year GDP. So from the 60s to the 40s, 40s to 60s, U.S. economy grew at 4.25%. Now we grow at barely 2. Gee, you pay people not to work and you tax them if they do. I wonder what's going to happen. And I don't know, me. I like how Venezuela tried again. Hey, this time we got it. Chavez, he's got it. What do you mean we need Western expertise to extract the oil? And then Maduro kid, it wasn't Chavez. He passed away. Maduro knows what he's doing. He's got a mustache. There's your Venezuelan politics. The mustache. You're Tom Selleck. Maduro. Yeah, he's going to save us. I think Venezuela's GDP consists of what little oil they export and blow jobs to Colombia. But hey, now you're learning real like, and I'm sure it's illegal, right? Prostitution's illegal in Venezuela, right? Right? So it doesn't happen because the government said so. And that's it. There you go. To me, it's not complicated. It's a very simple thing. Economics isn't complicated. If you pay people not to work, if they won't, you tax them when they work, they won't. I mean, you could look at the Laffer curve. It really is no more complicated than the second or third grade logic. I don't care how many 1,000-page books academics and professors write. You take people's money, they're not going to work. Every time they try communism, it doesn't work. Even on a small scale, like these stories where we're going to have an employee owned and there's going to be no prices in our restaurant. It lasts like three weeks. Say, hey, how about you get a communist restaurant to work before you roll it out on 1 billion people in the world, huh? Yeah. But yeah, there you go. I mean, if you want to look at it, it's there. Yeah, that's it. So let's go to the suit. But like I said, just so you know, don't bother reading the comments section on this one. It's going to be filled with a bunch of unemployed liberal arts majors who have to correct me on some technicality, not even a technicality. I read in some book from some nobody. You don't understand. You see, that's not real. Actually, for those of us who get laid, those of us with jobs, here's a very simple tool by which you can understand the spectrum between communism and capitalism. There we go. All right. Let's go to super chats and have our wow. Why? I don't understand the super chats. Beforehand, it was crickets chirping. Now there's a ton of you here. What's going on? Wholesome DJ Aftershock, $5. I have a PhD about the nuances of the difference between socialism and communism from Harvard. According to my research, both are synonyms for theft. Right. Just for anyone who, again, gets laid and has a job. Sometimes they will use socialism to include communism as well. It's kind of like the word liberal in Europe means free markets, where here it means leftist. So there's a double meaning to socialism. But what the context we're using it here is there's capitalism, mostly free, socialism, 50-50, and then communism, government owns everything or nearly everything. But yes, they are theft. No, and that's what it is. That's not an opinion. Now, I've written an article called Taxation is Only 65% Theft. Because if you look at the budget, state, federal, and local, a third of the money you actually get back in the form of public services like defense, roads, police. Remaining 2/3 is income transfers. So that is theft. That's just taking money from one group of people and giving it to another. That's theft. Leftists will try and say, but we voted on it, so it's democratic socialism, which I've said before is no difference than it's still theft. It doesn't make it moral. You took other people's money that wasn't yours. So it's their logic is, well, we voted in the country to kick you in the nuts. That's it. That doesn't make it right. We voted to murder you. Well, it's still, I don't care if it's popular, but that's what social, oh, free stuff, but it's okay because it's popular. Okay, it's still theft. You're still taking other people, which is why people don't work. Oh my god, where have the working men gone? It's just a Scooby-Doo mystery. Wait till the food runs. Oh, it's gonna be so great when you don't have enough tradesmen to, like, just keep the electrical grid up. It's gonna be awesome. Cappy in your bank Ralph Raphael for $5. Cappy in your banking needs. Have you ever had to report another employee to the OCC or the SEC for fudging numbers? I have reported, well, individuals, but entire banks to the OCC and not the SEC, the OCC and the, what was what was the other one? Another banking regulation, it escapes me now. Office of Thrifts, OTS? It's been a while. But yeah, I reported. Yeah, nothing happened. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe later on they went back. Yeah. Uh, he's been here before. Mukzaksa, 90, $8 Australian dollars. Bro, the whole socialism good touch peen now was me last night, and it worked. Did it? Did it move Zoxa? All right, cool, man. Oh yeah, the social. Oh, totally for the taking of other people's money. Absolutely for the children. Oh yes, yes. Peen now. That's unfortunately a lot of. That's a lot of young ladies' religion is, "Oh, I'm a socialist or feminist or whatever, color you whatever different variant of socialism you'd like to call it. And if you're not that, they're not well, you don't get your peen touched. Okay. But then you want a guy to work and support you or support himself at least. They all want rich men. I've always been curious about that. Single women vote the largest, I guess you could say, young single women, but generally single women are the largest plus advantage to the Democrat Party. But then they all want rich men. It's like, why do you keep voting to raise their taxes? Like you do know if you didn't take 50% of their money, there'd be a lot more rich men to go around. Never mind. Product of Cook County, 79632 $2. Nice stream and just got to work. Let's go. Hey, yeah, how's the delivering on the south side going? Is it going well? Going safe? Florida Henry, $10. I'm very much for free market economics. I'll one up you on that, Florida Henry. It's human nature. That's why we got drugs. That's why I don't care what the Soviet Union outlawed, they still had an underground economy and a black market. It's human nature. Oh, we outlaw prostitution, but no one pays for sex in America, right? Hey, isn't that called marriage? Yes, it is, Jimmy. Plus for you. Hey, look, and I've always been of the opinion, look, you can either create your economic system based on human nature, or you can try and force something that isn't human nature and go to ruin. I don't care. I don't care what you do. From my viewpoint as a 50-year-old, Reaganomics has been a disaster. Your thoughts? No, Reaganomics, you can't argue it worked. Now he cut taxes, but he also increased spending. And I remember even as a young boy, oh my God, like Democrats so cared about deficits under Reagan. Now they couldn't give a crap less. Like, wait a minute, what changed? Oh, the guy in the office had an R in front of his name. Reagan was he was probably the best economic success we've had in our lifetimes. If you look at GDP growth, but I don't know how it was a disaster. It was. I mean, go look at the data. You don't have to believe me. The only drawback you could say is that the deficits did go up under Ronald Reagan. Continued under Bush Senior. Master Miggy, $20. He says nothing, but I think he lists down below. I would rather die than live under socialism or communism. Yeah, it's slavery. It is. This is why many young men and some women aren't working. I mean, and there's also some unfair employment practices among corporate employers. Like, I agree with you. I wouldn't work either. Bachelor's required, master's preferred. So it isn't straight politics that people aren't working. But yeah, I'm not. You don't pay me, I'm not working. F you. which is why there always was like work camps and gulags. I would fight for our freedom or die trying. There's no other choice for me. Yeah, I would. I'm not. See, until they force you at gunpoint to work. Well, it's like, okay, well, I'll just go on welfare. Like literally, you're going to tax me at 70%. I'm not working. I'm not writing books. No. But, no, but. You need me more than I need you. I work. Well, I don't think this is work, but I'm willing to work. Dong is fun. $2. You need a hot toddy with honey. Yeah, that I do. Sam Whiskey, $2. But Cappy, we will own nothing and be happy. Just kidding. You know what's funny is the male female thing. That's really not being accounted for, and that's really what's going to blindside all these economists. Because it isn't even necessarily money. You need some money. You don't need a lot, but you need some money. Once that's taken care of, happiness, which is what everybody's ultimately aiming for, they're not going to be happy. You give everyone socialism, and it could work. Like for whatever reason, the workers keep producing. You mean look at these younger generations living off government. Mom, dad, they're miserable. Suicide rates are up. Was the Economist of all places came up with an observation, an article? I think 18 to. Or was it 14 to 28-year-olds? Young people, very young people, not even adults. The number one cause of suicide, of death. Wonder. Well, they got everything. Everything's bought and paid for. I wonder if maybe love or the opposite sex plays a role in meaning of love. And you all joke. You want to make an economy boom? Make women pretty again. Make them thin again. They didn't put fat pinups in their trenches and their foxholes in World War II. They put up Rita Hayworth and whoever else put up the pinup thing girl calendar back in the day. You could give them everything, but if there aren't love and the opposites, if ain't nobody having good sex, no, it's out. Nick Cork, Greek name Nick Crocodilus, €5. After half a century alive, I heard them all. You are the first person in a decade to give me some food for thought with your wealth is obsolete notion. Thank you. Yeah, you're referring to sanity is the future of wealth. And I linked to how not to become a millennial because the millennials worship and bow down. Younger people bow down at the altar of socialism, and they think that's the point and purpose in life. Read through that. It's a general debunking, not on intention or by design, but by accident. It exposes cultural Marxism and debunks it. But sanity is the future of wealth, which is the essay you're referring to. That also paints a lot of hope where, you only need so much money. Alex Patino, a truck driving Latino agent in the field for $10 generous. You give too much credit that libs actually read. They only read and regurgitate what the professors tell them and read paragraphs that they're herded to, because reading might cause them to think critically. Yeah, I don't know how I don't know how you could get through Das Kapital. Communist Manifesto is at least digestible, but Das Kapital and then all the derivative works of academia that rationalizes taking other people's money away. They're horribly written and they're not logical. Like the reason a lot of you guys all fall asleep in school is because they're either not getting to the point or that it's not making sense because they're lying to you. But yeah, I don't keep in mind we're talking 18 to 22-year-olds in college, which are the dumbest people in America. They're not there for any serious academic study. They're there to party and to like find some kind of hope and reason and cause. And college and academics know exactly, well, here's your hope, reason, and cause. Those other people are oppressing you, and now you're entitled to their money. And here's a whole thick book that you don't have to read the book. Oh, because of the oppressions, because of the Guineas and the ists and the isms and the reasons and the class. Give me the other people's money. Very good, Herman. A plus. Bob Dabalina, $5. Cappy, get well soon and think about getting a career. And whenever you get ill, getting a care, whenever you get ill. Next, I don't need a care. It's just a cold. I'm on the recovery. It's just my voice is gone. I don't want to pay for someone to. I just lie in bed and watch television. I've been watching The Boys. First season, oh yeah, it's good. Second season, why? Hey, let's sit in some dark rooms and watch the television and have drama and have long conversations and everyone have sex. And, oh, maybe they might advance the plot. That's pretty bad now. A product of Cook County, 79632 bucks. New coworkers slow, leaving early 2023. Can't wait. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully you're on to bigger and better things. Wholesome DJ Aftershock. Since you're sick, you should claim disability. No, you need a mental disorder for that. I can't just claim I have a cough. I have to have social anxiety disorder. I need depression. I need bipolar. I need something that the moron with their psychology degree, like, well, yeah, you got it. I'll sign off on that. Here's some drugs. Thanks. I'll take them and sell them on the black market. Free my human nature. Economics. No, I need a designer mental illness to claim disability. Oh, nosies. I have a touch of the autisms. Somebody give me other people's money. Alex Patino, the truck driving Latino agent in the field, $5. I've been wondering if the degree requirement was enacted in order to get people with massive debts willing to become wage slaves that will work for pay. Yeah, no, I don't think it was designed that way, but no doubt there have been employers that picked up on that and know that as well. And they're happy that's how it happened. But I really believe the increase in student loan debt is because we raise now the fourth generation of young Americans to think that college is a birthright. Stop thinking of college as an investment or any logic. It's like a woman's wedding day. Every young American person is allowed to have their college experience, and they will go into a ton of debt to have that experience because for the most part, and they're right. They're not wrong in this regard. They are right. That is the best days of their life. It's where they're adult, they got the most freedom, but they're not paying for things, they're not working, and they can imagine they're very intelligent and they have a future. And then it is all downhill from there. It is. And they inevitably know they got to work. And there's no pie in the sky hope. And then they find out their degree gets them a job at the local bartending place. But they're just postponing responsibility in adulthood. It's a big party. Yay. But yes, employers are acutely aware when people are desperate because I know, I think it was a dealership wanted to get their, what is this? I'm just going through this here. What was I going to say? Oh, they would get their employees into a car loan so they knew they'd have them. They would do that. And multiple stories about we got them once they signed that loan or that lease. Is that it? Let me go through all this. Was there any spam in here that I had to worry about? Atham was telling me there was spam. I don't see any spam. Looks like everyone's behaving themselves. Oh, wait. Awaybot. FINRA. It's all cognitive dissonance. Bye. Oh, yeah, let's get rid of this guy. Here we go. Boom. Got him. Thanks, guys. Is that it? Oh, Ralph Raphael for $5. Why did employers hire last year but are laying off most of the employees to increase profits to shareholders? Well, you just kind of answered your question, Daniel. They're laying off people to increase profits. I have no idea. I think it might be tied to interest rates. You'd have to ask someone else who actually pays attention to the economy. I'm going to guess because interest rates were really low and a lot of the business models, well, you can't call it that, for modern day American entrepreneurs is we just keep losing money and get capital, venture capital and loans and more equity investing. And then in 20 years, we might make a profit because of economies to scale. Now that interest rates have gone up, their costs of operation have gone up. And now they don't get funding and now they got to lay off people because the executives are more important than anyone else right now. And increased profits to shareholders, I doubt there's any profits. I'm really curious of what percentage tech companies, big tech even, make money. But that's what I'm guessing. We caught up. We're caught up. All right, there you guys go. Thanks for all the generous donation, guys. More on the way. We'll see you guys later, Toodles.